Kinda Murdery is sponsored by HellaDoge.com. That's HellaDoge.com. The only social media website that pays 80% of its profits out to real users in real Dogecoin just for doing what you do anyway. It's a blast on there, guys. Get out of the Facebook game. Get into the crypto game. HellaDoge.com.
Warning. Kinda Murdery contains adult themes, explicit language, and descriptions of violence. It is not suitable for anyone, and we recommend you stop listening now.
California's rugged and scenic northwestern corner is the beginning of the great Pacific Northwest. A region of untamed and primitive beauty.
Humboldt County Sheriff's Department has now joined efforts with the Arcata Police.
Growers living off the grid. Humboldt County also has the highest rate of missing person cases in the state, where 60% of marijuana is grown in the United States.
There's a lot of evil here. A lot of evil.
This is Kinda Murdery, and you're entering the Emerald Triangle. Wow, that was nuts.
I got my piss jug here.
Oh, really?
So I don't have to move. I just pee into this jug. It's got a wide mouth.
You couldn't afford the astronaut diapers, huh?
Nah. I wanted to run a hose, out my ankle,
Nice.
the ankle of my pant leg, and all the way upstairs.
A catheter, you're saying? That's amazing. Thank you, sir. Kinda Murdery appreciates your commitment.
Yeah, it has to be a garden hose because I have a very wide dick hole.
Yeah, wow.
It's just a fucking opening. It's just a fucking mouth.
Does it have teeth?
Yeah, it might. I don't know.
That voice you hear, of course, you're familiar with it by now. That is the Sundance to my Cassidy. Niall Madden is here. Welcome to Kinda Murdery. I'm your host, Zevon Odelberg. Thank you for deciding to be here. Today, we're going to be talking about the town, or more accurately, the village, or maybe just the place, of Comptche, California. And that's about 17 miles southeast of Fort Bragg and about 30 miles northwest of Ukiah. But anyway.
Wow. Comptche. That sounds like fucking gabagool.
Gabagool. Wow. What's gabagool?
Just some Sopranos shit, man.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. For 7 years, we've been out here with this gabagool. Some Comptche.
Yeah, Comptche, that's a fun name, right? Actually, it means the valley among the hills in the Pomo Native American tribe language. The Pomo actually are world famous for their baskets. When you think of the popular image of a woven Native American basket, sort of dyed in reds and browns with triangular patterns and stuff, you're thinking of the Pomo baskets. Pomo is also
no Pomo.
On an unrelated note, it's a obnoxious abbreviation for the term postmodern, of which the joke.
So very Pomo.
Exactly. I think that probably qualifies as a Pomo joke at this point in time, right? So back to Comptche, population 159 as of 2010, and basically, I swear it says,
Boomtown.
Yeah. 69 homes, I believe, 159 people, and I swear it says this on the internet. It's like we've got no fucking clue how many people live there now. Like the census after 2010, the census was just like, fuck it.
Dude, I have more homeless people on my doorstep in Venice Beach than that entire fucking town.
Yeah, the census robot was like, there's no way we're taking those Costa Rican cliff roads through Ore Springs and no mapping anymore. We're done. You guys figure it out yourselves. No more.
Well, can't you write to Google Maps and have yourself removed from the database?
Yeah, that's probably true.
Maybe it'll become a Zoom town, and all the cocksucker tech employees will ransack it
and everyone will become homeless.
In other words, as soon as someplace is really cool to live, the tech oligarchs show up, buy the whole thing, and make even basic necessities out of reach for anyone making less than $1 million a year.
The second there's an Instagram photo, they literally descend like locusts. And I mean, they just descend like locusts, consume everything, and make anything that was cool about it a fucking dystopian hellhole.
Yeah, because what the world really
just
needs...
robot boy and girls.
Yeah, what the world needs is another Tony Stark vertical glass coffin mansion, right? That's what we need. Another one of those.
Yeah, what good is having a huge ass mansion if everybody can't watch you sitting in your underwear watching TV doing rich gang shit? That's what it's about. Like, they're like, why would I have walls? You can't see all the things I have. Look at my shit.
Yeah,
it's all glass walls.
Yeah, I thought that same question to myself this morning. I was like, what good is having possessions at all if people can't see me sitting in my underwear?
Yeah.
I still haven't answered the question, mind you, but it's out to the jury.
Shit.
All right. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about a guy named John Leroy Drug. And I'm going to be honest with you.
His last name is Drug?
D-R-U-G, Drug.
Drugs.
Not just Drug, man. John Leroy Drug. I mean, have you heard a better name in your life? Like, I swear, I was looking for stories, and this guy's name popped up as having shotgunned his brother-in-law to death, dragged the brother-in-law onto the porch of his 12-room Comptche Valley mansion, and then torched the mansion, all because of a disagreement with his own wife. And
Wait, was this guy a rapper?
Yeah, I was like, man, first I just saw John Leroy Drug, and I was like, man, I hope this story pans out, because that name is just like all I need. I think we could do a solid 40 minutes talking about those three monikers. And then as I'm reading, exactly what I just told you is what happens. And yes, he was a rapper.
Wait, really?
Yeah, he dropped an album in 1929 entitled
okay.
The Burlap Print. Sorry, I was going to see how long I could keep going with that.
Oh, God, no, because I was going to say, damn, of course he was a rapper.
Oh, boy.
He had no choice. The game chose him.
Yeah.
He didn't choose this life.
The Burlap Print. I'm too proud of myself on that one. Okay, so it probably would have been the Gingham Print, actually. Jay-Z, if you're listening, Gingham Print. It's got a ring to it. Anyway, so John Leroy Drug, he was born in 1884, the son of John Drug from Glendale, California. So old John Drug Sr. didn't want to hit his son with one of those obnoxious juniors, so he made him John Leroy Drug. He was born in Glendale, and according to the Ventura Free Press, John Leroy Drug, at the age of 52 in 1936, married Hazel Mae Bullingham, 40 years old, from Los Angeles. And they got married in July, and then they moved their butts to the Comptche Valley. You live in Ventura, don't you, Niall? Is it okay for me to say that?
No.
Okay.
I don't want anyone coming here. I am so afraid of like Zoomer tech people.
Okay. So,
consuming my life force again and showing up anywhere that they hear that something is good, they have to own it and destroy it until homeless people are wiping their fucking shit on it.
Because once no one invested in society can afford to live there anymore, it's just left to the jet set to walk through with their bodyguards while the homeless people turn it into Escape from Ventura. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, it's like techno-feudal boy kings and robot girls. Nothing cool.
In the world of techno-feudal boy kings and Silicon Valley warlords, who are the samurai?
I think those are just the venture capitalists coming in. You don't even realize it when you're dead. They've already sliced your head off.
Yeah, they're just nicking heads with a razor sharp katana. Yeah.
You have no idea. They just bought your entire soul, your life, everything in the town. They decapitate you, and then they hold your head in front of your headless body because for 15 seconds you can still process that. just to show you, like, no, man, I already own you. I own all this shit.
And it sucks because it used to be you had to actually offer your soul up for purchase, right? You had to find your way to the crossroads at midnight and offer the devil your soul in exchange for all kinds of earthly delights. Now they just take it and you get jack shit except for a severed cabeza, like staring at its own headless body, as you just told me. That sucks. It used to be like fame, fortune, women, good health, anything you wanted was what you got in exchange for your soul.
It doesn't happen with the tech geeks. There's none of that rock and roll shit happening. It's people in a onesie. It's just people in a onesie talking about choo-choo trains and My Little Pony.
All right. Let's get back to the Drug family. The Drug, I love it.
Let's get on some drugs.
So John Leroy and Hazel May, they moved to the Comptche Valley in Mendocino County, where he builds what the Redwood Journal called a, quote, pretentious 10-room house, and every other newspaper called a 12-room ranch house without tagging it as pretentious. At this point, John's in his middle 50s, and he's described as a wealthy rancher. However,
he's a fucking baller.
He is. He's a baller. Well, you know, the burlap print sold like 6 million copies in the first 3 weeks. Was the first guy ever to go triple platinum. And so you know, actually, there are conflicting reports as to exactly how he became so wealthy. Niall, I'm going to give you some multiple choice options here as to exactly how old John Leroy Drug made his nest egg. You've got A, he was a silent film screenwriter and wrote the 1921 classic Lavender and Old Lace starring Mary Minter. It's your first option.
Wait, but that's like, are you asking me a true or false? Or are you going to give me an A, B, C, D, E, F, J?
I'm going to give you an obnoxiously long list of things, and then I'll talk about where they are. Spoiler alert, I'm not pulling these out of my ass. They all tie into the story, actually. So there's conflicting reports as to how old John Leroy made all his money. He could have A, been a silent film screenwriter, B, a silent short film screenwriter, C, a magazine writer, writing under the nom de plume of Royale, D, he left silent screenwriting to become a miner in Mexico, where he struck it rich in the Mexican gold rush. E, he inherited a bunch of money from a relative in Iowa. Or F, some combination of the above.
Yeah, this sounds like modern commentary on where we are right now. All these things seem to line up.
Yeah, the answer is F, fucked. All these things line up and we're fucked. Yeah. So the answer is F, which just sounds wacky as shit. Is he like a Mexican gold rush miner? Is he a magazine writer known as Royale? Is he a silent film screenwriter where, you know, of course the dialogue was key back then? Did he inherit money from his corn farming uncle? What is it, right?
This is like a John McAfee type character.
Right. So the one that's most plausible is he inherited it all from a corn farmer. Which brings us back to the story that we're telling today, which is that his wife then said to him, look, honey, you got all this money. You're going to buy a property, because she wanted to protect the wealth. She didn't want John Leroy Drug to fritter it all away. So she made him spend it all on a big fancy mansion and a giant ranch in the middle of nowhere in Northern California. And that's where the problems begin.
So begins California's housing crisis.
Yeah, basically, you're right. You got to park that wealth somewhere reliable. You know, and now the whole state is overrun by sad, unhoused residents who can't afford to live anywhere because of John Leroy Drug and Hazel May just trying to safeguard their family nest egg. So he buys this giant ranch, right? And the moral of this story, and I would have thought nobody needed this moral, but the moral of the story is, don't go into business with your wife's sister.
Why is that?
I'll tell you why. That's what John Leroy Drug does. He goes into business with his wife's sister's husband, a man named Lee Jackson.
Yeah, you don't get high off your own supply.
Over time, tension and bad feelings build between John Leroy Drug and his brother-in-law Lee Jackson for two specific reasons. One, John Leroy feels like Lee doesn't do his share of the chores around the ranch. He's not out there milking the cows when he's supposed to. He's not shearing the sheep. And the second one, Lee wants to get into chicken farming, and John Leroy Drug does not want to be a chicken farmer. And there's a lot of just really bad feelings simmer over these two issues. A, he's lazy. B, he wants to turn me into a chicken farmer.
Nobody calls me chicken eater.
This is like every entourage that's ever existed.
That's right. That's right.
Just investing in nonsense bullshit.
Yeah.
Spending $50 million a year on Johnny Depp's wine.
Poor John Leroy Drug's wife decides that he is the bad guy. Why does he have to be so mean to her sister's husband? And why can't he just get into chicken farming like a good goddamn American?
Some hoe-ass shit.
So here's what happens. She decides in 1944, some 8 years after they got married, that she wants to divorce him. And she goes and consults an attorney in town about getting a divorce. John Leroy Drug finds out about it, and he confronts her in their home, and they get into a furious argument.
You will never get that house. Do you understand?
At which point she says, I was afraid for my life, so I ran to get Lee Jackson, who's my sister's husband. She runs to Lee Jackson, and she's like, I think my husband's going to kill me. John Leroy's gone crazy. He's gone crazy, and he's going to kill me. Whatever you do, don't go in there and confront him. And Lee Jackson says, no, I'm sure I can calm him down. And so he marches into the house to placate the violent rages of John Leroy Drug. John Leroy sees him come through the door and perceives that Jackson is about to go into the bedroom where John Leroy Drug knows that Jackson keeps a pistol. And rather than allow that to happen, John Leroy has apparently, when his wife ran off, went and fetched his shotgun, just unloads both barrels of buckshots right into Lee Jackson's lungs. So Lee Jackson is on the bloody ground.
He's
gasping.
cold-hearted.
Oh, it's cold as ice. There are 3 tracks about it on the burlap print.
Yeah.
So Lee Jackson's on the ground, gasping like a goldfish, bubbles of blood on his lips. But he's not dead yet. You want to hear cold? John Leroy Drug, who knows Jackson is not dead yet, grabs him by the shoulders, drags him to the front porch, goes to the shed, gets a can of gasoline, douses the house, sets it on fire.
Oh, it's some Sub-Zero shit.
Burns the house and the brother-in-law, then drives off and leaves the house fire for Lee Jackson's 12 and 14-year-old children to come home from school and find without knowing that the charred corpse is their father's.
This is like something the cartel would do.
Yeah, that's the Mendo cartel. That is some true 0 degrees Kelvin shit right there.
Yeah, that's some creative fuckery.
Yeah, that happened. That just happened. Now you realize that Hazel May's fear of her husband was beyond justified.
This man was a savant.
Of just horrific...
Of sadism.
Amoral violence. Yeah, immoral violence. Yeah. He was fucking, yeah. Just human suffering was his, paints and canvas, is what you're saying.
Yes, he was, he transcended the human experience. He was in a flow state.
Oh, God.
He's in a flow state of pain. That's where that's his canvas. That's when he is of the cosmos.
Oh, man. So when she cannot dissuade Lee from confronting John Leroy Drug, she is still just so terrified. I'm rewinding now to the moments before the murder, that she takes off running, and it's the middle of the day, and she wanders through the woods all day until the night when she stumbles into a logging camp full of big burly Paul Bunyan loggers, at which point she figures, I'm probably safe enough here among these woodsmen that my husband can't find me and horrifically murder me.
And so from No Country for Old Men?
Yeah, right. Javier Bardem's character, I can't remember the name. Yeah,
the motherfucker with the bowl cut brigade. Yeah,
right. Yeah, that's basically. So she spends the night in a logging camp. Meanwhile, after setting fire to the house, John Leroy Drug very calmly gets in his car, goes to the bank, withdraws the balance of his savings, which turns out to be $800. Doesn't sound like much for a baller. Does translate to about 13 grand adjusted for inflation, so not terrible, I guess.
It's pretty terrible.
Well, maybe it's only one of many bank accounts. It's the
this is like an NBA rookie just blowing all the fucking money.
Right, but you got to understand that in Comptche, the bank is like a stump that only a couple other people know about. It's like the porn stump, but it's where you stash your money. I mean, there's no bank, there's no town. It's literally a village. But anyway, he gets his $800, and according to the newspaper, he mails a letter to an Eastern institution, which
it's exceptionally vague.
Yeah, I read it. I thought, wait, he's a secret Buddhist in 1944 in Mendo.
Yeah.
You know? Turns out,
dear Eastern institution.
You know, I had it wrong. It's actually an Eastern religious institution. It said that. So right. I thought, he's a secret Buddhist. Turns out they just meant like he donated his money to the Catholic Church in New York. Eastern just meant he mailed a letter to New York.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So then he drives into the sheriff, walks into the sheriff's office, lays his shotgun on the sheriff's desk and says, I just murdered my brother-in-law, dragged his body onto the front porch, set the whole house on fire, and I knew he was probably still alive when I did it.
So he said the quiet part out loud.
Exactly. He just narrated his own thoughts, much to his own detriment. Exactly right.
It's like a fucking Homer Simpson move right there.
Yeah, totally. Or he's just such an ice-cold baller that he knew that he would run the prison. He was like, I can be CEO from in here, thanks.
Ball so hard, motherfuckers want to find me.
Exactly. When it comes time for his trial, he goes with not guilty by reason of insanity.
You know what he should have done? He should have gone with the affluenza defense. Like that kid in Texas who killed like 5 people drunk driving or something, and he didn't go to jail because they were like, he has affluenza. He's so rich. His brain doesn't think the way yours does. In a way, he's the victim.
Right. He's so rich, it's made him into a sociopath. So therefore, we shouldn't address his sociopathy. You know, like, what?
He's the victim.
Yeah, that's nuts.
His shit is so awesome. He couldn't possibly think about not burning the house down. That's something that you do.
Yeah.
The plebes.
So he goes to trial and goes with the insanity defense. And I didn't realize until I started doing this show, like the long and glorious history of the insanity defense. People have been claiming temporary insanity, not full insanity, forever. I mean, back 1800s, they were doing temporary insanity. I don't know. I just kind of lost it for a second there. And that's what he went with, a temporary insanity. And it all went back to his wife threatening to divorce him and the fact that he found out that she went to a divorce attorney. And here's what happens on the stand. He takes the stand. God only knows.
Johnny Cochran of the age, and they tell him to put the O.J. Simpson to put the glove on.
Yeah, I mean,
blows up in their face.
Maybe he just
Marshall Clark goes down.
Yeah, he just wanted to take the stand, and he's such an ice-cold mofo that his attorneys were afraid to stop him. But he is described as being very dramatic on the stand.
This guy's like incredible.
He really is. He really is. So he literally says on the stand...
He would be president now.
Right. Yeah, exactly. He says on the stand, he says that when his wife told him she wants a divorce, he said, "You better think back and see your own skirts are clean. Do you remember that child you burned in the furnace in Glendale?" And I'm like, wait a minute, what? Oh, he says that his wife's sister gave birth tragically to a stillborn baby, and that his wife, Hazel May, then took the fetus and incinerated it in their home in Glendale. And so he's essentially saying to her...
So he's trying to appeal to the jury.
Yeah.
And he's saying to himself,
horrific. He's
doing a version of the speech like, if you cut me, do I not bleed? In your furnace, is there not a fetus?
This guy is a monster. He's a monster. He's telling his wife, if you try to divorce me, B, I am going to tell everyone that you incinerate fetuses on Saturdays for fun. I mean, he's a psycho. And then
he's like Charlie Sheen.
Really, it's insane. Yeah, he's like Vatican assassins.
He's like freebasing crack, freebasing coke, has AIDS.
Jesus, he really is a monster. So then he says, and when Lee Jackson came into the house to try to talk me down, I started to hear voices. And he then, on the stand, he does a dramatic reenactment of the voices in his head at trial. And he's like, they said, get him, or he'll get you. The voices, he testified, were audible inside me.
Oh, man, the power of theater. What this room needs is theater.
My God.
Did everyone throw roses and panties after the performance?
I mean, this guy is such a soulless psychopath. Like, imagine the tragedy, right? If his wife's sister really did miscarry. And if in the situation that they were in at the time, I don't know, they felt like they had to do something about the body and that his wife had in fact incinerated the baby, and that's awful. But it's also really, really sad and not necessarily criminal, especially in like the 1920s where modern medicine, etc., was not necessarily available. And this guy, this fucking
I would
asshole,
imagine this was criminal, but...
Well, sure. I'm sure it was. But you know what? It may not have been motivated by criminality. Maybe the sister was like a teenager and it was a baby out of wedlock that had been born stillborn. It's a lot. It's no matter any way you slice it, it's tragic, right?
He's literally behaving like Kanye West.
Right. Any way you slice it, it's so tragic. And when she wants to leave him, obviously for very good reasons, his lashing out reaction is to be like, oh yeah, remember the time you burned that dead baby? I mean, this fucking guy, man.
That's what Kanye West did when he was crying, saying Kim Kardashian wanted to abort his baby.
Jesus. I've proven on this show I can chuckle at a lot of dark stuff, but honestly, this story is a little dark even for me. So, you want to talk about affluenza, Niall? So here's what happens. He is found guilty of second-degree murder because he didn't plot it. It was a crime of passion. And he's found guilty.
He didn't plot it. He's just a genius, and he was improvising like he was doing jazz.
He's the Jackson Pollock of hideous murder and arson. So he's found guilty of second-degree murder and arson. He's facing 5 years to life for the murder. He's facing 2 to 20 years for the arson. How about the sentencing guidelines in 1944, huh?
Yeah.
You want to have a judge
Restorative justice.
Yeah, you want to have a judge in your pocket, my God. So, in other words, you could be found guilty of these two crimes. You got the judge in your pocket. You could be doing 7 years total, or you could be doing 50 years. Same exact crime. So, that's what he's facing. They send him to San Quentin. He does 4 years, and 1948, he's released and sentenced to 18 years on parole.
Jesus. I mean, I don't know. That's
Jesus is right.
It seems like it was worth it.
You mean just for the performance art?
Yeah, just for the story.
Holy hell. Yeah, this fucking guy kills his brother.
Just for the rap career that he launches afterwards.
Right. Psychologically abuses his wife, murders his brother-in-law, burns his house down, leaves his brother-in-law's smoking corpse for his niece and nephew to find, confesses to the entire thing, and does 4 years in jail.
Yeah, that's like what you get for a missed parking ticket now.
Dear God. So I started this out by saying, don't go into business with your sister-in-law's family or your wife's sister. But I don't know, maybe that's not the moral, because arguably it all kind of worked out for fuckface here.
This guy's like Walter Mitty.
Jeez. Yeah.
He's the Forrest Gump. His life just keeps getting better.
Yeah, you're stuck on this idea that he's some kind of a brilliant savant of emotional and physical damage and murder, it seems.
He is a god. No, I just think it's amazing. He's lived quite a life. He's like Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
Life is like a box of murder.
Life is like a box of murder. This one's got coagulated blood in it. This one's ashes and cream. Okay. So Niall, how are you doing, man? What's going on with you? Tell me about your life. Tell me about, how do you spend your evenings these days?
Well, I'll just tell you, I was up late last night. I was just doing my usual sit down, go into the YouTube wormhole, just black out and wake up filled with useless knowledge the next day. Mm-hmm. So I stumbled upon this syphilis documentary about like where syphilis came from, and this is amazing. So this is great. So it's somewhere in the UK. A couple of years ago, they're about to bulldoze a building to make room for a parking structure or something. But because it overlapped with ancient sites, people used the opportunity to quickly excavate and see if there's any fossils or things they could find before they poured the concrete.
Mm-hmm. And they found fossilized syphilis.
So they find like it's a burial site. So they hit the jackpot, right?
Oh, no. Yeah. The jackpot of like curses and bad luck.
Well, they see all these perfectly preserved like skeletal remains that they have like cauliflower on their fucking bones and like holes in their skull. And they're like, these guys all have syphilis. And then somebody goes back and checks the records and discovers this was the site of a Christian order of monks or something, something similar to that.
Oh my God.
So...
I'm not going to spoil it, but I have a guess as to where you're heading. Please continue.
There's like a British narrator, and he's just kind of like, celibate monks, all dead of sexually transmitted disease. So basically, the backstory is they do some digging around and they find out that this fraternal order of Christian monks, they started out very humble origins. They were it was like, this is 14th century, helping the homeless and poor. And this, that, and the other.
Dominus requiem, whack, hitting themselves in the forehead with boards, that thing.
I don't know if they were doing the self-flagellating, but eventually these guys start stumbling into more and more power because the wealthy merchants started giving them money, like tithes. They were basically selling like a free pass into heaven.
Right.
So all the rich people are like, I'm not going to do the church bullshit, but here's a bunch of money. Now, this is my ticket. I get to go to heaven.
Right. I can't believe people thought that worked. Yeah, it's amazing.
So it doesn't take too long.
God needs cash. The omnipotent being needs money to buy things with. Sure. Okay, continue.
Right. So it's big brain o'clock. These guys are just a
bunch of big brain boobs.
Like this is basically a version of NFT boys.
Oh no.
Just selling, you know what I mean? They're just like crypto boys, just getting like extravagantly rich off this shit. And eventually it's like,
that's BOIS, by the way, and also Kinda Murdery, sponsored by HellaDoge.com, the social media platform that pays you in Dogecoin for liking stuff. So, we're right there in that cesspool of moral turpitude that Niall's referring to. Please continue.
It's only a matter of time before they got girls crab walking in through the doors looking for that money, power, respect.
Wow.
And what it is, obviously anybody whose morals can be corrupted enough to...
I did not guess that girls were going to be involved at all, actually. But please continue.
Well, that's funny. I'll tell you the truth. I never even finished this fucking thing. I could be making this all up. But I'm just telling you right now that...
You're like, I fell asleep for my own mental health?
Yeah, it's like Wolf of Wall Street sort of story arc. Like, there's a big downfall. And obviously anybody who's corrupt enough to be selling free passes to heaven is probably going to be easily persuaded by pussy power.
Hashtag big brain o'clock. Yeah. I got to jump in here for just a second to let you know that my guess, when I was like, I think I know where you're going, but I didn't want to like wreck it by being right. I was so so wrong. I thought this was actually going to have virtuous origins. Here's where I thought
they were going to be like, I thought it was going to go some Michael Jackson direction.
This is crazy. Here's where I thought, no, not even that. I don't know why I was so dead set on making out these monks to be good people, but here's what I thought. You know, right, that syphilis drives you insane, okay? So eventually your brain rots and you go mad. So I thought that perhaps in the Middle Ages, these monks, when they lost their minds, would hallucinate that they were speaking to God and receiving divine insight. So I thought you were going to tell me that there was an order of monks contracting syphilis on purpose so that they could receive divine insight through madness. That's where I thought this story was going. I was
where the story's going
wrong.
Is they went from virgins in Harry Potter robes to ballers, the pussy posse in slankets, walking around town, being like, because this is my life and I do dope shit.
Flying private jets to Australia to do club drugs, as you were saying the other night.
Yeah. I mean, more money, more problems. Next thing you know, your brain is being eaten alive by syphilis. It's kind of like Eazy-E. Eazy-E, he was literally having sex with crackheads until he died of full-blown AIDS. Right. But this is my fucking dream, y'all. All this shit. Like, they're just like the least Christian people. They got racks on racks. So they got hoes on hoes.
So you're telling me that this...
Listen, they went from talking about God to being like, I am God, motherfucker.
Like Sean Connery in The Man Who Would Be King. Like, look
they're
at
wearing
my
a robe for
Scottish
easy
chest
access.
hair. Yeah.
Just airing out their junk. They are the pussy posse because they got all the money. So they are literally knee deep in tang.
So it's Johnny Drama and Turtle in the crew is what you're telling me.
Yeah, it's just rich gang. You don't love me, you in love with the gold chain. All I do is yawn bitches and cocaine. This ain't no church. It's a house of goons. It's a house of worship. Some sexual sorcery.
Oh my goodness!
Just British guys immediately
sorcery.
Become Ashley Schaefer.
This is maybe the earliest genesis of sort of a QAnon type conspiracy theory, where they like the liberal Democrats of today, where they bathing on and feasting on the blood of babies too.
I just thought just like a rap entourage taking off.
These are the pimpest mofos ever, is what you think. Like, do you feel jealous of them? Do you wish you'd got there first?
I love how it follows the fall from grace.
It's just a classic corruption story. Like, Lucifer just got in there early and stuck his pinky finger up some bungholes, and then the rest was a foregone conclusion.
It was like the part of the Martin Scorsese movie where the Rolling Stones song kicks in, and the shit has hit the fan. And it's like, you got cocaine eyes. The feds are closing in.
Yeah, you're watching a movie and Street Fighting Man or Satisfaction comes on. Just some really, really wild shit's about to happen.
Yeah, the VO goes and you got a montage of all the shit going down, and you're just getting so pumped up in your movie theater seat. So anyway, but yeah, no, it was just an incredible little anecdote there, and I never even finished the documentary, so everything I just said could have been completely made up. But I almost say it's probably better that way.
I think it's all true. I mean, when I think back to like sort of the automatic abuses of social power that happen in, say, a fraternity house, right?
Yeah, they were the top. They were the top dogs of Fraternity Row. These guys.
Right? Yeah, this was the
fucking TikTok hype house.
Yeah. Yes. So I mean,
just selling fucking dreams.
You take away whatever oversight a fraternity might have, which is basically none. But in place of that, you add belief in a holy, right? You add belief in a holy mission that you're on, like the Blues Brothers. You're on a mission from God. I mean, you're going to go a lot farther than sticking cocktail wieners and green olives in your asshole. Probably, it gets real dark real fast.
It always resorts to people putting things inside of people's bottoms and.
That is a go-to whenever you've got leverage on somebody. The humans just
put it inside of him.
Yeah, like the voices in John Leroy Drug's head. They were audible from inside of me, he said.
Yeah, I think he'd be a good character for a movie.
John Leroy Drug.
I need more on him. I need to know more about him.
I think the takeaway really is like, if you have narcissistic personality disorder, they all behave the same way. It's like there's one dude. It's called being a sociopathic narcissist. And if you are, I think Kanye calls it dragon energy, but everybody else calls it narcissism.
It's my superpower.
If you have that mental health affliction, then you act in a recognizable fashion.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It's like once you clear a certain threshold with earnings, with money, with racks on racks, you enter the Michael Jackson phase of eccentricity.
Right.
So the next thing you know, like, you're literally walking around with an alien's head, sleeping in an oxygen tank with a harem of little boys, and you're just on opiates, drinking lean out of a chalice.
It just...
wearing pajamas.
Black pajamas so no one can tell that you're peeing
Silk
your pants
pajamas.
off. The black pajamas so no one can tell you're pissing your pants all the time from all the opiates. God.
Oh, was that's actually... Yeah,
that's Michael Jackson would only wear black pants because he was constantly wetting himself.
Children's. All the children's in the world.
I mean, I think what this...
I want them in my bed.
With that, for Niall Madden, I'm Zevon Odelberg, and this has been Kinda Murdery.
Kinda Murdery, The Emerald Triangle, is created, researched, edited, produced, and hosted by Zevon Odelberg, with opening theme by Niall Madden and art by the Gin of Lang. Available now on all podcasting platforms. If you like the show, please subscribe, review, and tell your friends. You can find us on social media at Kinda Murdery or email at kindamurdery@gmail.com.